Welcome to Art Traffic. Let's get going.
So everyone's sort of on the same plane in Maiden, LA, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are you a communist?
No, not necessarily.
That's a total joke.
I know. But sure, why not?
But for this episode of Art Traffic, we went to Hollywood to meet with Molly Shulman of Maiden, LA. That's Maiden, spelled M-A-I-D-E-N. Molly is smart, hilarious, talented, and we had a great time talking. I hope you like her ideas about creating an egalitarian art scene. Find out more about Maiden LA at their website, maiden.la, or their Instagram of the same name. Maiden will be taking artist submissions for the August exhibition soon. Enjoy this episode with Maiden LA. Okay, this is Art Traffic. We are here in LA on Santa Monica Boulevard interviewing Maiden LA. And we are here with Molly, one half of the duo that makes up Maiden LA. So do us a favor and just kind of introduce yourself and give us a tiny bit of bio, whatever you want to say is fine.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, my name is Molly Shulman, and I co-created Maiden LA with Salome Grace, who can't be here today. But Maiden LA is a decentralized survey of art happenings that we host each August, and we're in our third year this year. It's a network of happenings. Anyone can be involved, so it's 100%
Super
inclusive.
democratic.
It is.
It's one of my
That's the
favorite
idea.
parts about you guys.
Yeah.
You guys have so many great ideas and so much good stuff going on that's
you.
on the ball. We love you, and that's why we approached you. I've been heavily cyber stalking you for at least a year and a half, and I'm just
wow.
I'm so happy
Cool.
to be here today.
Yeah. Well, little by little, it's nice to sort of go out in the world and mention Maiden LA and not have people just look,
Right.
empty. Like they starting to recognize the name, which is cool. But yeah, we Made in LA, the Hammer Museums Biennial.
Yeah. And this is obviously a play on words, but then
yeah.
And it's a great thing about your name too is you guys bring a feminist bent to it immediately.
It does.
Which I think is
it does.
Yeah.
Well, we are two women in Los Angeles, so it made sense. But it also, if you think of a maiden voyage, sort of a,
Yeah.
But yeah, so the Hammer Museums Biennial started, I guess, 8 years ago now. And so they're entering their fourth iteration this summer, so we'll coincide with their event again. And we really their original language was that they were highlighting or showcasing emerging and underrepresented artists in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And it's great. And we are happy that they have their show. We felt that it didn't necessarily represent us, and we were LA artists, and there's just so many people in LA that you never get to see their art.
Yeah,
they're working out of their garage, they're working out of their studio, and nobody knows about them.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're, it's just hard. It's such a vast
and you can
city.
be shouting from the rooftops like you guys or us
Yeah.
or a lot of different people shouting as loud as you
Right.
can and still not
So
get
that
there.
was the idea. We were like, how can we encourage artists to get out there and sort of speak up for themselves and say, I'm here, I want to show my art too. I'm part of LA and I'm part of the landscape, the artistic landscape of Los Angeles. So Made in LA is hopefully a way to kind of give confidence to artists to just self-start and put on a show, and you don't need a budget and you don't really need a space. We have people doing amazing things in the park or in at the LA River or wherever on the street, in their backyard, in their kitchen.
Yeah.
And certainly people have always done this. This has always existed. But I think because we're trying to do it collectively, we have a louder voice.
Yeah. And then so how did the partnership begin, and when did you guys think?
So Salome and I met in college at Bard in upstate New York.
Uh-huh.
And we went there for undergraduate for art, and we started being friends. And she was from Santa Monica and was like, hey girl, I need a roommate in LA. Do you want to be that person? And so I had never been to California. And so I moved to Los Angeles, and we moved to Silver Lake.
Uh-huh. As you do.
As you do.
What year was that?
That was 2002.
See, because that was like, I mean, it was still saturated with artists at that time, but it was less so even more than now. Like, I don't...
Oh, it was very different.
I don't know if you could afford Silver Lake at this point,
no,
right? Like,
no
I
longer.
couldn't.
No way. I couldn't afford it now. At the time, I think we had a 1-bedroom for $800 with like a backyard.
Yeah.
And it was really nice.
No, yeah.
It was on Benton and Bellevue.
That's what it was like known for.
Yeah. But then I think we came home one day and there was a notice on the door that said it was sinking into the earth and it was condemned or something.
That
so then
also sounds like Silver Lake.
Yeah. So then we found another place. We found a live work space on San Fernando Road in Glassell Park.
Uh-huh.
And we lived there, and we put on shows there, and we started our art dialogue and our art friendship, I guess, back then. And then, years kind of came and went, and Salome moved to London and went to Glasgow for graduate school, and I moved to New York. And then eventually we both found ourselves back in Los Angeles in 2007? No, 2010. Yeah, maybe 2010, 2011.
Okay.
And we just sort of picked up where we left off and started trying to collaborate again, doing some drawing shows together. And then the Made in LA show started happening. And by the way, I just want to say that our title, Made in LA, is really meant to be funny, because if you say you're in the Made in LA show, nobody knows what you're talking about. They're like, oh, okay, you're in the Hammer show, you're in, it's confusing, and it's sort of meant to be funny and playful.
Yeah, that comes off immediately.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I got you. I got you.
But in any case, that's sort of when we just started toying around with how we could sort of take on the institution and sort of question what it meant to be an LA art. That's when we sort of started the idea.
Since I basically know you from Maiden LA, which I'm not going to say I know you, but like, what do you want to say, or do you want to include this in the conversation about your art?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so like,
yeah,
how do you characterize your own work?
Well,
what do you think of yourself? Are you a big P painter?
A big what?
A big P painter.
Oh, a big P.
Capital P painter.
Right. Not a piss painter.
No.
I do paint, and I do make sculptures, and I work a lot with words, sort of the playfulness of words. And lately I've been thinking about commodity, and how a lot of times there will be a show, at a museum, let's say, and then there's products made out of the artwork. So for instance, the Chris O'Philly show that was at the New Museum, they created a dress out of his Afro margin drawing, and it was, sold at the gift shop or whatever.
Yeah.
And
this has been like a thing.
It's a thing. Of course it's a thing. So
the gift shop's getting
the gift shop
closer and closer.
And also
to the
artists
art, right?
making products out of their stuff, making a tote bag or whatever.
Oh, yeah, that's.
And so I've just sort of been thinking about reversing that process. So making the commodity first, and then painting the commodity second, or making the artwork out of the object.
So it's
yeah. So that's something.
It's a little post-structuralist.
Yeah.
It's,
yeah.
The sign and the signifier at the same time.
Right. Yeah. And then it's all very ridiculous, and it's all. So the art is the commodity, but then there's these products that are made out of the art. It's just a way to sort of explore that.
You're
what's
playful.
happening there. Yeah.
You have to get out there and be playful with it.
Yeah.
Why not? We should have
Why
some
not?
fun, right?
Yeah. So
as long as we're not going to make any money, we should have fun not making any money.
Exactly. Oh, and then
That's how all the best work is made, I feel like.
I also feel like something should be said about what marks the success of an artist. And I don't necessarily believe that it should be financial success or even exposure. I feel like hard work and dialogue and I mean, showing our work is important, and that's where Maiden LA comes into play. But I feel oftentimes that a big budget just makes a shiny show that feels
less accessible.
Yeah, and possibly even more gimmicky or less exciting for me a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, sort of shifting the focus of what.
So how do you reconcile that with living in the most hardcore capitalist country that's ever existed?
I don't know.
On the face of the earth.
I think just acknowledging it and thinking about it and talking about it. And
so in some way, it's a dialogue that critiques that that capitalist structure in a way.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, a lot of artists, myself included, feel that they're not doing a good job if they're not being shown or if they haven't made, and this is Los Angeles, it's Hollywood. People want to make it and they want to make it big and they want celebrity. And I think it's a terrible focus.
Yeah. Well, we've seen a lot of it. It makes for some really shitty artwork. Okay, so if you just look at what's happened on just like the street art world, let's just take that separate because it's happened in such a profound way. That entire kind of genre has like gotten like really cluttered and confused with a lot of players who are out there to be famous and to do so on a timeline, like.
You mean strategically?
Yeah. And that does seem like it's the end game because it's like, I'm going to like, if I don't have my sneaker contract in 18 months, I'm out of here. And then I'm going to go find something that makes money.
Go be a banker.
Yeah, whatever it is. No, like, we see it happening. People are like, I mean, in some kind of a way.
Yeah, but then there's artists that just sort of plow away and they make their art for decades and decades and they make a substantial and meaningful body of work. And maybe not a lot of people see it, but it's meaningful.
Yeah.
It's something. Maybe, maybe you get recognized later in life,
Yeah, or like you're saying, maybe not at all.
Or maybe not at all.
And then maybe you'll just be...
Yeah. But I think the other aspect of being an artist is that you do want to show your work. And that's where Maiden LA becomes important because it's encouraging people to put on their own gig where they can, show the world their stuff.
What was the first things you guys did?
Because
I didn't jump on the Maiden LA bandwagon until like a year and a half ago. So
the first thing.
What was that first thing? And were you when you guys came up with the idea? Well, like you were saying it's halfway funny, but like how funny was it in the beginning? Were you guys just cutting up and saying like, we're gonna do it?
When we were formulating the idea.
When you were formulating the idea.
I think so. I mean, it started. We did brainstorming and we started with really ridiculous ideas actually. And I'll share it with you today because this is a special
That's what we're
podcast.
looking for. That's what we're looking for.
We were like, let's approach the Hammer and ask if we can just be in the Maiden LA show, and we will make these cars that we'll put out an open call, and everybody in Los Angeles can enter a small work, and we will deliver with a remote control car, deliver the work to the Hammer Museum, and just inundate them with Los Angeles art. That didn't happen, but it was
take you up on that. I can't.
No,
I can't believe.
But that's sort of where we were being that playful. Like we were like, what is the most ridiculous thing we can do?
No, that would have been amazing.
It's funny. I mean, it wasn't necessarily feasible, and in the end, I think our idea is more refined and better. But we were just thinking of anything that we could do. And, roving shows, garages, that sort of thing. And then eventually, what helped us, I think, is we took less and less, or we took more and more structure away from it and let it be more free form.
Okay.
So that the artist really has autonomy and can show their work on their terms. Mm-hmm. We're not putting on other people's art shows, Yeah. We're just promoting it and sort of helping.
What for you is the perfect end game for Maiden LA? Is like, what are you guys trying to accomplish big picture? Like, if it got as huge as your possible dreams could imagine, what would be that best future?
Big picture, it would be amazing to take this to other cities. Maiden Paris, Maiden New York, whatever. But also, it would be great to have the institutions recognize us in a way. Some of them do. We do have some institutions involved in Maiden LA, which is another aspect, another major point that we want to try to dissolve hierarchy, at least in our own way, in the art world. So by having the Getty participate with their Friday Flights show in August, and then the little guy in their garage, with their paintings.
Like right next to them.
And they're getting the same press. They're all, exactly. So everyone's sort of on the same plane in Maiden LA, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are you a communist?
No, not necessarily.
That's a total joke.
I know.
It's a total joke.
But sure, why not?
But I think I feel a lot the same as what you're describing.
Yeah.
Like,
it's very
I'm getting very pumped,
Uh-huh.
just listening to you talk about this stuff, because that's it's like more free, more democratic is like, I love that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you could have a Maiden LA, a Maiden New York, a Maiden Chicago, a Maiden Paris, a Maiden London, a Maiden Hong Kong, what do you think your life would be like at that point? Like, would you like to be kind of like just overseeing a whole larger thing, or would you just go, I'm going to decentralize the whole thing, give control to everyone else, and then I'm going to go just continue making my work in my studio?
Yeah, the reality of Maiden LA is that it's a tremendous amount of work, and it's organizational work that I'm not used to.
Yeah.
And it does take me out of my studio, and it takes me out of my work, which is frustrating.
If it takes 10 minutes away from the work, it takes 10 minutes.
Yeah. So the reality is, like, each successive show that we've done, it becomes that much more streamlined so far. I mean, we've only done 2 fully.
Yeah.
But we're able to feel a little less stressed and a little more removed. I don't realistically think that I could take on the world by myself or me and Salome.
Yeah.
I think at that point it would probably have to be, segue to like nonprofit world, board of directors type of thing. And I would want to be more removed. Well, honestly, we've always tried to stay removed from it. The first iteration, we didn't, when we put out the open call, we didn't even say who we were. We just got submissions. We didn't want to attach our names to it because we didn't.
And so how'd you guys get the word out?
We
I guess without
we approached Curate LA and like different pretty big media, voices.
Yeah.
And various open call things. I think mostly online. We did like hit the pavement and like put out flyers, but I don't know how effective those were. But yeah, I think Curate LA and For Your Art and
Cafe, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe Cafe. Everything that we could. Everything that we could, we tried to post about it. Yeah. And we got a lot of submissions. And we had like over 150 events.
That's amazing.
Which was cool. We were so nervous. We didn't know what the response would be. We didn't know if we'd have 10 people or 500 people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it worked out to
exciting
be.
Though, huh?
Yeah.
So what's happening in August? What are you guys feeling like for August right now? Have you guys come up with your like concept?
Yeah. Well, we are.
Maybe I put the horse before the cart. Let's talk about the last show.
Okay.
And then maybe we'll do like what you guys are doing next. So describe to us like what happened. Talk about the cardboard.
Sure.
The location, because that's all very important and very cool.
Well, so there's 2 different things that you're talking about. The first is Maiden LA is a network of events, kind of in the vein of Pacific Standard Time, where it's events all over Los Angeles. So it's spanning the county. And your show can be anywhere. There is no center. It is decentralized. So that's throughout the month of August. And that will be happening this coming August as well. This sort of network of happenings where people can put on their shows anytime throughout the month of August, anywhere in LA County. And we had, the types of events ran the gamut. We had somebody threw a women's picnic at the park. There were sound performances, poetry, sort of visual, audio visual experiences, performances in the park. There was just a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we don't curate it. So whatever anyone wants to do is fine. There's no rules. I mean, really I think the fact that you have to apply and come up with an idea and it's like set to print and it's going to be published under your name is enough incentive to sort of follow through and make it happen.
Right.
And then...
and have you found that that's true?
It has been. Yeah.
That's
Considering how many people are involved, the number of people that have had to back out for whatever reason has been pretty low. Very low.
Wow.
And, whatever they apply, however they apply, whatever their language is in the application is the language that we send to print. Yeah. So we're not really getting involved with however they want to represent themselves. And their image is their image. I mean, we're not telling you what to do. It really is all of your own rules. And it really is, I mean, you kind of are just doing it yourself. You're kind of just self-starting and putting on your own gig, inviting your own mailing list. And then hopefully we're reaching the larger media outlets, like trying to get the LA Times, and, bigger exposure. Yeah. And then that'll bring people, hopefully, to your program.
Didn't you guys get a blurb and a half in Art Forum or something like that?
Yeah, so then a couple months ago, we were part of the Other Places Art Fair, which was an art fair put on by Keith Niddle, and that was the inaugural OPAF, Other Places Art Fair, in San Pedro. And it's an art fair for alternative venues, I guess, or places like us that don't really have a space. Yeah. We don't really exist. Maiden LA doesn't exist. So
I feel like that's a poster. I think you just wrote a poster.
So in an effort to maintain our egalitarian values, we were like, what can we do to make this special, not just have a boring information booth at this art fair, So we created a sort of temporary gallery out of cardboard. So we had cardboard frames, cardboard pillars, which you can see here, actually. I know. And we invited LA, the entire community.
That means take a picture of that. Oh my God.
So we invited Los Angeles to participate in our booth at the art fair. So we had no idea, again, who would be involved or how it would go, but people just came to the show that day, brought their art, put it on display, and some of the art sold. We were selling work, which was pretty amazing, for $20 or less, but that's still. No.
Awesome. Again, awesome. Actually, you know what? I think if you guys and everyone else could do much more of that, and we could just convince people to just not ever go to Aaron Brothers or wherever it is that they buy their wall hanging framed thing and get them to do an actual handmade.
Yeah. Well, having OPAF as a sort of jumping off point, it was great. Like, I would love to do more events like that because, first of all, it's like completely reaching out to the community, face to face, hands on. People are bringing their art. People who wouldn't get to be in an art fair are getting excited. They get to be a part of something. Yeah. And like, if there's anything the art world is about, it's about trying to be a part of something. Yeah. So it felt really amazing. It was really we had a great reception.
Yeah. So do you have any idea about what will be coming up in August? Have you talked to anyone or no?
Well, I mean, whoever I meet, I tell them about Maiden LA and just try to say, do something for it, But we are in the early stages. We have to put out the open call like soon, like now, like in a few weeks probably, and start putting out a press release. So yeah, the ball is rolling. And then I think usually we have the cutoff in June. So then by June, we'll have all the submissions. And then July, we'll, work on printing everything up. And then August is the show. Yeah. And then we usually have a party.
Can I come?
Yes, you could come. You're invited. All of LA was invited last year.
How did I miss this?
It was at Griffith Park by the Carousel. And we had an ice cream social, and we got the ice cream cart and did little ice cream cones.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it was pretty fun, actually.
That does sound right.
Well, Salome and I applied for the Creative Capital Grant, as I'm sure maybe a lot of people have done. It's a really, important, sizable grant that is one of the few grants that you don't really need fiscal sponsorship or to be a nonprofit, and you can just apply as an artist.
Uh-huh.
And so we are working on this project called Get Into the Getty. So it's, again, sort of exploring the relationship of the artist to the institution. And the Get Into the Getty, again, is meant to be humorous, but it's using the difficulty of getting to the Getty via public transportation as a metaphor for navigating the art world.
That's kind of genius.
So we're hopefully, we'll see, cross our fingers, but I hope to get at least to the next round with this grant process. And that would be a really cool project, which we will develop anyway, but it would be really cool to develop it with a budget.
I feel like I would love to see Maiden LA working with Fallen Fruit. Do you know Fallen Fruit?
I do, but can you refresh my memory?
Okay, so this is like this is actually a pair of guys, and they do work where the first thing I think they did was maps of LA, where you could get free fruit off of trees.
I totally know what you're talking about. Yeah, because it's free if it's overhanging over the property line.
Right.
It's accessible to everybody.
Yeah,
I loved that project when I heard about it.
Yeah, that's really cool. Now they do bigger stuff, and they did like an orchard in I can't remember which park it was.
But on the west side, park. By the airport, right?
They've done a couple now, and
off
the top of my head, I can't remember what the locations were, but that's brilliant, and they're like doing some cool stuff. But I feel like that's kind of like they have a similar sort of freer, democratic, egalitarian outlook that you guys have.
Yeah.
That would be like, that's a dream team for me.
There you go. Maiden LA meets Fallen Fruit.
Yeah, as my teenage daughter would say, I ship it. Which means you'd like to see a relationship happen.
Oh, okay.
I ship Fallen Fruit and Maiden LA.
That's good to know. I have so the first Maiden LA, I found out I was pregnant, and it was funny because the first week or so, I had so much energy, and I was like going to like 5 shows a day and like trying to just do so much, and then like the next day, I found out I was pregnant, and I was like, whoa.
You're like, that stopped.
I became exhausted. I think as soon as I knew, I became completely exhausted. And then last April I had my daughter, and that happened like right around the time of the open call for Maiden LA. And then I think during that Maiden LA, Salome found out she was pregnant.
Oh my goodness.
And so then she had her baby last fall. Anyway, you can imagine.
So it was a crazy time.
So it was a crazy time, and so one of the challenges that we both sort of have, I guess, is doing all of this and being mothers of young, like first-time moms, basically.
Oh, and plus, 1-year-old, like that first year.
It was nuts. My daughter's amazing, and I think she might be a pretty easy baby, but it was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah, no, the easiest baby in the world will whip your head around, Yeah, I remember I was a freewheeling artist before my first was born.
Yeah. But it's a good conversation to have because, it's an ongoing conversation, I think, like how to balance parenthood with...
And I think there's more of us out there, too, because, I feel like when I first came into the art world in the late 80s, I thought... I just didn't see anybody out there with kids. And then, that persisted kind of like through the 90s.
Yeah.
And when I had my first kid in 95. And so it was like I felt really alone out there. But like not anymore. It seems like there's more people that are like going, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna do what I want as far as like the family thing, and I feel like curators are more used to it, and galleries are more used to it as far as like, I think people were immediately discounted if they had kids in the 80s and 90s.
I think so. And I think, at least being a woman, it's, somehow a lot of, well, I mean, breastfeeding alone, like more responsibility ends up falling on me because I'm the mother.
Yeah.
And so it's really, and I'm exhausted. Like my body went through so much. So it's hard to find the time and the energy to come into the studio and make work.
Yeah. So a lot of determination involved, huh?
I think, yeah, or like just coming up with a schedule and just sticking to it. I could see how people just stop, you know? So, I mean, I really had to like set a schedule for myself and like make it happen and like step away from the child and leave, you know?
It's nice that your partner is in the creative field as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, he's amazing. He's very supportive.
Kind of gets it.
He totally gets it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So, this is a really difficult question, but if you had to characterize the LA art world scene, like maybe you're trying to describe it to that person who, like you, was from New York at one point and you had to come here, I guess how would you describe it to your I guess yourself back then?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the attractive things to me about Los Angeles is that it feels really, even now, even with all of the development in the past few years, it feels malleable. Like it feels like there's still room for people to come and do something and start something and experiment with something. Whereas I feel in New York, it can feel like a, you know, like a who's who a lot of the time, or like a, you know, it's just, there's a lot of old money there and there's a lot of tradition there and there's a lot of history there, and the LA art scene doesn't have a very big history.
Yeah, no, we knock this city down every 10 years and rebuild it. So, you know,
so, and
you
it's,
can jump in at any
and
moment.
it's very geography, you know, the fact that it is so vast, I think allows for there to be so many different artist communities. So I don't know, I feel like there's still, even with it getting more expensive, I feel like there's still cheap places to be found. There's still, I mean, this studio, I found it and I was shocked that I found it, and it is affordable, and Maiden LA is happening, and people, you know, were excited about it, and I don't know, I think the word I would use is malleable.
Yeah.
Like I feel like you can sort of work LA or make it work for you, or work with it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the best explanation of that question I've ever gotten by far. Yeah, no, really. Okay, we're coming up to the end.
Okay.
We're gaining steam here. And this is the last 2 questions. It's kind of the only 2 questions we really always ask, but first up is side hustles. Did you get a chance to listen to an episode of the show?
Yeah, okay. I did, yeah.
So side hustles is like... it could be anything from like what you do now to make the ends meet to like that embarrassing story of yesteryear or whatever you got in between.
Well, I mean, I'll just say this because I think it's funny, but when I first moved to LA, Salome and I both, we were cocktail waitresses at the Wiltern Theater when it first reopened after the renovation.
Oh my gosh.
And we were like art kids, and we didn't know how to hold a drink tray. And like there were fancy waitresses holding it up above their head, and we were like hovering around ours hoping it didn't spill. And it was like standing room only in the downstairs, and it was really a hard job. Like I had to down a rock star to get through that shift. Like I mean, it was really hard. I was like, you know, I had money like falling out of pockets. It was ridiculous. And Salome was just as challenged, if you will. And it was fun. I mean, it was totally fun, but it was crazy. And I was not a waitress, I guess, a cocktail waitress. I wasn't a typical cocktail waitress. And now
today you're still cocktailing though, right? Still working at the Wiltern?
Hell no. Still on the same street.
Still up and down those stairs. Baby in one arm, cocktail trail in the other.
Yeah, right. It was a good job in a way. But honestly, like as an artist, I sit a lot and like hover over a piece of paper and like clench a drawing implement or something, and I started to have back pain. Like it's so boring and old people sounding, but I started to have back pain like a while ago. And I started doing Pilates, and it really helped me
I should
a
start
lot.
Pilates.
Yeah, like even just standing up, taking a tiny break from your work and just
Yeah.
like standing up is probably helpful. But I started doing Pilates and I started teaching it. I like went through this training program and started teaching it, and then I made a business out of it. So
Oh,
I have
okay,
that's
cool.
my side hustle. I have
Yeah.
a side business where I teach Pilates.
Sign me up.
Yeah, I teach like private lessons to
Okay.
people. Yeah.
I need it. I really know. Like
I
a
will
year,
teach you
a
gladly.
year,
You have to
year
drive
ago,
over to
I
Silver
had like
Lake,
a
but-
horrible problem. I'll go into it after the show.
That's
but
the
it's like,
thing. Like artists suffer,
Yeah.
like their bodies suffer. Like we need to make sure we move around. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been sitting here looking at this painting right here.
Yeah. My whole painting?
Yeah, can you go
Yeah.
into that for me for
Yeah,
a minute? Because
totally.
this is an amazing painting.
I have a series of paintings where I started to, well, I was sort of thinking about how our language was becoming more and more visual with emojis, like sort of as this was becoming a big thing, and like,
Yeah.
So I was sort of exploring this idea where our communication was becoming more and more visual, I guess. Almost a throwback to cave paintings and hieroglyphics and, symbols. And so I started sort of making emoji paintings where I was referencing, like I just thought the black hole was a hilarious emoji.
Yeah.
So that's my black hole emoji painting. And I actually did I have like a whole project where I like created a hole out of cardboard, and my boyfriend and I took it around to Texas. We took it to Marfa, Texas. We walked the hole around and took pictures of the hole in front of landscapes, and yeah. And so it looks superimposed, but it's really just held up in front of the landscape and then the photo. But yeah, so there's behind that painting are a bunch of other paintings with a series of emojis.
Yes, and all
Yeah.
the same format and square format.
Yeah,
it
so
looks like.
originally Instagram was square. So I was
Yeah.
sort of thinking about the Instagram square.
Yeah,
'Cause that's
you
how
know
we
what?
were seeing
That's
things,
really
this
interesting
barrage
that
of
you had a
images.
reaction to Instagram, and
Yeah.
I think a lot of us did.
Yeah.
I started making a bunch of paintings that I was trying to make that were super difficult to photograph, like so that they couldn't make it on the web. Because I was trying to be unsuccessful, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. Like,
right, you don't
it's
want it
like-
to photograph well.
No, like I was having this negative reaction
Yeah,
to
I
it,
understand.
like you can't sum up the art world on a
On an app.
Shame on you.
Yeah.
Like I was in this moment, I guess.
Yeah.
I feel silly about it now.
Well, I mean, change is hard.
It is. I know, right?
It's hard to accept change.
Thank you for summing up that 10-year period of my life where I was just all like, oh, rats.
These smartphones and
I know,
apps.
I know. Dang kids. Okay, so
I guess embrace it. Embrace the
yeah,
Instagram and the emoji.
yeah. Where were you for me back then?
I'm here now.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna make the most amazing Maiden LA show now.
Cool.
I'm getting started on it today.
Cool. Amazing. Yes. That's all I could ask for. That's
Okay.
terrific. Yeah.
Just really, okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, it needs to involve a super tanker. You know, like one of those big ships that holds
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Like a real one?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I probably can't afford that, so I'll make one in my bathtub most likely.
That's a good idea.
Something like
yeah.
that.
I think we haven't had a bathtub piece yet, so I think
Shh.
we're due for one.
I'm gonna edit that out. I want you to know because no one's stealing my bathtub
No.
idea.
Yes, edit that out.
Our last segment of the show. What, I guess, who would you like to hear from about their work in a large format? Or it could be an institution. It could be
Yeah.
a curator. It could be a gallery. I don't know.
Well, we do
But it has
have.
to be LA County.
Okay, yeah. Well, we do have quite a roster of artists that participated in Maiden LA over the years. But the people that come to mind are Sarah Velas of Velaslavice Panorama Theater. Do you know
No.
that space? It's sort of this portal into a magical world. I mean, it's really a special place. And it's a panoramic, it's a theater that's downtown, like by USC.
They don't do a whole bunch of performance.
They do have events there, and they have a beautiful garden in the back. But what
Okay.
she does is a panorama. There's this room, and you go up these sort of stairs, and you're in this enclosed round space, and there's a panorama painting, and she's working on a new one that is inspired by a trip to China. I don't exactly know the details. You'd have to ask her.
Okay,
But
sure.
she is doing this thing, and she's been plugging away at it for a really long time, and she's turned it into a nonprofit. And the space alone, like for you to go there, would be really,
Yeah.
you'd get something out
No,
of
that
it.
sounds
It's really
cool.
magical.
Yeah.
And then the other person is this woman who I met recently at the Other Places Art Fair, and her name is Tatiana Vahan, and hopefully I'm pronouncing these names correctly. But she started something called Bar Fund. Have you heard of Bar Fund?
Nope.
It is
haven't so
really
much all the
cool.
time.
They it's a bunch of artists, and they will be your bartender at your art event, and whatever tips they get go toward an artist grant. And then they open it up, and you can just apply for this artist grant. So they're trying to, like us, encourage artists, or try to help artists, basically,
Yeah.
you know, collectively. So
Yeah.
they're artists trying to collectively work to encourage other artists to, for them
That is
to get a grant.
crazy awesome.
I know, it's amazing.
You know how
And so-
horrible it is to tend bar at events?
Yeah.
They're really falling on their sword. I feel like we should
Yeah.
jump Calvin into the interview here at this point, because he's really
Are you a bartender?
got that side hustle.
Yeah. Well, I think they're just really pouring wine and beer or, water or whatever it is because it's an art event. It's not a bar. But yes, maybe they do.
No, they're heroes.
Maybe they
They're-
do.
yeah.
I don't really know what kind
Yeah,
of
no,
drinks
they're
that
giants
they pour,
in my
but
eyes.
yeah. But the point is that all of their tips go towards a grant that
Okay.
anyone could
This is-
possibly
yeah.
get if you win the grant. If you
That's
get the grant.
amazing.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. So those two people, and of course they're both artists.
And so, like, in a period of time, how often do they do this?
I don't
And
know,
how
but they
often do
just
do
did a
grants
grant.
and
They
what?
just
Well, I'll ask
I-
them when I interview
yeah,
them.
ask them when you interview them because
Yeah,
I don't know all
okay.
the details. But it's called Bar Fund.
Bar
And I
Fund,
can
okay,
write down the
cool.
name for you later.
All
but
right,
those
thanks.
two people seem like interesting
Yeah.
LA
No,
people
they
that
both
I would
sound
like to hear
amazing.
from.
And
I
I've
want
never
their
heard of them, so I'm really
establishments.
stoked,
yeah,
to go out and talk to them.
I'd
and
love for more
stuff.
people to know about them.
Thank you so much for being with
Yeah.
us and
It was a pleasure.
giving us time on Art Traffic. We really appreciate it. And I'm really hoping that we can get more word about Maiden LA out there. And
Me
August
too.
is like even bigger. And what happens if people are like, the Hammer Museum show is a footnote in the future?
Oh
And
my
everyone
goodness.
does Maiden LA. Everyone
Music to
does
my ears.
MAIDEN
Right.
in the future.
That would be something else.
Wouldn't
Yeah.
that be crazy?
Mm-hmm. It would.
Something to think about. Okay. Thanks again, Molly, for being with us.
Thank
really
you so
appreciate
much.
it.
Thanks.
Maiden LA is Salome Grace and Molly Schulman. They have a great idea that is really starting to take off. If you have someone you'd like to hear on Art Traffic, hit us up at Art Traffic LA on Instagram or email us at arttraffic@thomasadamsart.com. Subscribes and follows help us out, so if you like the show, please hit the appropriate buttons.